Yo, what's going on YouTube? And in today's video, I'll be responding to a comment by Shay Mane, who said that he had liked the previous video. So I thought I'd go ahead and do a video playthrough just to kind of sort of help you understand lines of play that you'll want to make, seeing that this isn't a typical Reiju deck. You're not going to be doing typical Reiju things. So let's get to that out of the way. Set that up like so, a little shiggity shuffle, shiggity wow, shiggity. All right, so we're just gonna open up with a general 5. We don't know what the 5 is gonna be. That's ass. I would actually send that back because that's just god awful. So mulligan, and hopefully it's a lot better. We did see some Reijus in there, so hopefully those get mixed up and put into like a nice spot in the deck for the second go around. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Not much better, but we're gonna work with it. So we're gonna assume that, generally speaking, whenever you're playing Reiju, and if this video should become popular, the stats may change on this, but generally speaking, when you're playing Reiju, your opponent's going to want you to go second because they don't want you to have the first curve to play the Porsche combination. So they don't want to get hit with that. They let you go second, but if they do let you go first, that's fine. But generally speaking, you do want to go second, but going first is absolutely fine. If this is your hand going first, it's going to be a rough time going forward. Not going to fake it. So you would just get 1 Don. And let me set up my life before I go any further. You would just get 1 Don, and then you would obviously pass your turn. And then it'd be your turn, your opponent would have done something. You draw. Thank the heavens above that you got a stage. Now, I would go ahead personally, just tap 1, play the stage. Then, from here, there's a multitude of things you can do. You can get rid of one of your judges. You only have 2. You can get rid of 1 for right now because, well, you have 1. And you really only need to play 1. But if you want to play 2, then you don't want to get rid of this out of your hand. But because I usually only play 1 and you only need 1, and the games usually don't extend that long, 1 is fine. So then I'd go ahead and search my top 3. Now this would be a hard decision because not only would I want to make my Ichiji live for next turn, but I also want to play one of these for next turn. And seeing as I know that I'm getting, seeing as I know that I'm about to take 2 of these to the bottom of the deck and I know I have none in my hand, I know that the odds of me seeing more of these is less than the odds of me seeing this. But seeing as I know that this will work with something I have immediately right now, I want to take this because I know I can get this off next turn and it's going to defend me for the remainder of the time that's on the field. So I would sacrifice losing the odds of seeing another one of these because this is 2 of them and I don't know what's in life. So I have 2 of these that I'm sitting to the bottom of my deck. That means that I am really kind of sort of searching for these, but I don't have any big Reiju, so it's not a big deal. So, but keep in mind, I did send 2 to the bottom. Now, I do have a setup for next turn. I don't have anything I can play. I don't want to waste this chopper. Don't forget to rest your field. I'm just going to go a simple 7 to their lead. More than likely, they're going to take. So, they're a 5 life leader. They're now at 3 or 4. If they're a 4 life leader, they're now to 3, so on and so forth. It's now your opponent's turn. Say your opponent just swings heavy at you. You're just going to take because you wouldn't give up any of these cards anyway. And then you get another Ichiji out of life. So now you know that the probability of you seeing another Ichiji in your deck is high-low, but you don't really need to see. You don't. I'm not going to say that you don't need to see more. Seeing more Ichijis is always nice. But right now, it's not a priority. So it's this state, you know, you'd have taken your life, your opponent would have done opponent-like things. Probably would have established a creature, seeing as they did have 4 Dawn on their last turn, which would have made sense. So I say you didn't really need to give up any of these. It's fine for you to take the hit. But you want to reset everything, get your Dawns, and then draw for turn. You're drawing adult Reiju. Now, the first thing that you're going to see is that you have a lot of counter, and you only have 2 non-counter cards in your hand with no 2Ks. So you still got a lot of 2Ks left in the deck, especially since you haven't started cycling, you haven't went through anything. You know this. Before you begin your turn, before you make any plays, before you do anything whatsoever, first, tap stage. This is going to allow you to increase your options of play before you make a play. Because if you make a play before you tap stage, you now can't make a new play that you could have made with the new cards that you have that you didn't see. So always tap stage first before you make any moves, before you swing with lead, before you do anything, tap stage first. If you have stage up, you want to get rid of all non-counter in your hand. So obviously you want to get rid of this because it's non-counter. If I were to play a baby, whatchamacallit, I get rid of that. And you also want to get rid of cards that you've given knowledge to your opponent that you have. So because I added this to my hand last turn, it's the first card I want to get out of my hand. So my opponent no longer has knowledge of a card that's in my hand. Now I'll trade this for them to have knowledge of another card in my hand, but if I play that card, you know, that doesn't matter. So with that being said, rest stage, pitch, look at top 3. 1, 2, 3. You would obviously grab this because you have a corresponding and you have a good setup for your judge turn coming later on, which you're going to be on curve for. So you got 2 baby Reijus that you set to the bottom. After your 2 baby Reijus, you went into baby Ichiji and then another stage. Keep that in mind because you are going to hit a point where you set up your entire deck, where you are at a point where you should know every card in your deck because of how much you're cycling and filtering and all that jazz. So now that I know my new card, if my opponent did play a 4-drop on their last turn, and I'm not too much worried about defending myself on my upcoming turn, but I don't want them to have that 4-drop to swing with, I'm going to go with the tap 3, summon baby Ichiji, or summon baby Niji, then I'm going to go Dawn minus to rearrange him for the big, getting rid of a card that my opponent knows is in my hand. So my opponent no longer has any knowledge of any card in my hand. And I get to draw 1 for leader ability. So I draw a 2K. So now I've got 1 2K hand and another search if I need to. So if I need to find any other pieces, I want to send any other pieces to the trash, then I have a way of doing that because next turn I'll have the Dawn to be able to do that and to be able to play a chopper to increase my Dawn count so that I can play my judge in 2 turns. So let's say that's what I did here. I drew from my leader. I bounced their 4-drop that they just played. I don't have any other moves that I want to play, so I go another 7 to their leader just to apply pressure because there's nothing else that I need to play. I have enough life and enough defense to where even if my opponent is to go at my life right now, I still have enough life and cards in my hand to where I'm okay, and I know I have the defenses to know that I'm going to be fine. So unless you know your opponent is playing something to where they can remove cards off the field, like if you're playing black, obviously you can't rely so much as to what you have on board, but you can rely on what you have in your hand, because for black to be able to KO, that means they have to spend Dawn. For them to spend Dawn, that means, you know, they don't have as much Dawn to swing into you with, so you can just counter out. So keep that in mind when you're playing black. If they got to spend to get rid of your things, then they still got to spend to do it. If they got to go a straight 6 with a Kuzan to you, and you can just pitch the 1 and save yourself, you know? So small niche things like that are important for the matchup that you're playing with, and always keep that in mind, the matchup that you're playing with. You always want to kind of sort of also play and tailor to that too. So if you are playing black, just keep spitting out bigger bodies at a 4, because they're going to have a hard time continuously getting rid of your big 4 bodies. It's just no way that they can keep up. Getting rid of the boards on your field also doesn't do much for them, which is why black has to just pretty much has to go into your life. But at this point, you would be at the 4 Dawn. You would establish the body. You would have got rid of a body. You would have swung 7 at your opponent. It would be your opponent's turn. They wouldn't have a body on field themselves, and they probably use their Dawn to establish another body. So they're probably more than likely going to do a low swing at you, which is fine because you can just get rid of your Reiju for a low swing, and then they'll establish a body 9 times out of 10. If they're going to go for a high swing, then that means they can't establish a body, so they won't be able to apply pressure, which means you can apply pressure to them. So it's in their best bet to establish a body on this turn. So they probably won't have a lot of Dawn to use for a swing. So that's why I say more than likely, all you're going to have to give up is a counter. And if you do have to give up more than that, then you have, again, the perfect 2 counter cards to get rid of, because all you need now is one of your babies in the event that you should have to give up more than 1 counter. But like I said, if that was the case, giving up this is fine because you can bring it back with a baby and tailor your strategy to your next turn. But let's just say your opponent did swing and establish a body. You took 2 7s to them. If they didn't take that last 7, then they're down cards in hand and they just played a card from the hand. So 9 times out of 10, they probably took that other 7 because they wanted hand size to try and sort of mitigate the loss of life by having a high hand size and hopefully protecting themselves for later swings, because they know that they're about to deal with a 5-6 swing on their upcoming turn if they didn't get rid of this creature. So in their mind, they're thinking, well, if he just swings 5, that's a card. If he swings 6, that's 1 card. So now you're at your 6 Dawn turn. And right now, you can really set up for great defense. Really set up for great defense. So you can go draw 1 card, and you don't want to get rid of your 2K because it's a 2K, and you'll be using that in the turn to come. So if I had this hand right here, then the very first thing that I would probably if my opponent only has one leader swing, 1 character swing, then you're fine to either do a multitude of things. But the thing that I would do to set up for my judge turn is I would just go ahead and go first. I'd go ahead and go 6 into lead because I know what I'm using my Dawn for. I know that I want to judge next turn, and I know I want defense this turn. Because if my opponent is going to attempt to swing in this, I want to be able to protect it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go my 6 into lead. And then I'm probably going to then choose to do this. I'll get rid of my chopper because I know I've got one and I'm only going to play 1. So chopper to look at top 3. Now this would be a tough decision because I want my rusher and I want another one of these, but I also want this for the potential late game play. But I know that I have more copies of this in the deck that I can potentially hit later. And I know that I haven't seen a copy of this yet, but I may want to play this later too. But I also know that having 2 of these in play is super, super strong for defending yourself. So me personally, because I know that I like the defense offense of this card, I'm going to choose this card unless I know that I want to get rid of the body that my opponent had played the turn after or the turn before, or if I know that they're about to swing with that large body and I think I can drain their hand size. And that's the point. You're just trying to drain their hand size because they're going to try. If they try and keep the body, then you're just usually trying to swing at the body to drain hand size. If they don't keep the body, then that's fine. You can just go into their life. But either way, you're good. You're either draining hand size or you're draining life. So you're good for that. So either you want the defense or you want the offense. So obviously I won't want this. So cool. So I said because on the turn after they swing with the body they just established, I want to be able to get rid of that body with my upcoming turn. So I'm going to grab that as the card that I choose for that purpose. Now, this is where I'm going to go tap 4 and play my Ichiji. I'm going to Dawn minus for my Ichiji and switch him for the blocker Ichiji. Again, because now I can save this Ichiji for a counter swing to whatever my opponent swings with on their turn. Now, if my opponent did have that big creature that they established, like I said, that big creature their last turn, that they're going to swing with it obviously on their upcoming turn. So that's now going to be the turn that I play this instead of prematurely having to play it. Now I play a blocker. Now I have a defense plus the defense of his counter to help me out. And I'm going to go ahead and use leader ability now because I did Dawn minus. And always remember to draw your 1 off your leader ability when Dawn minus, and do keep that in mind. That is a skill that if you don't do, you won't get. But if you mention to your opponent that it is a mandatory skill, and because the action happened, I still get to perform the action, especially if you're still in the same state. So pretty much like if you go Dawn minus and you play this, but you haven't done anything else, then you still have time to get your draw off. You know what I mean? And because it is a mandatory card effect, I would call a judge on mistiming in this game. I'm not really sure how it works, but take that into consideration. You know what I mean? Find that information out if you can. But anyway, this would be my setup. And then I would go ahead and tap 2 for the chopper to get the ramp 1. This means that I now have 6 rested Dawn. On my next turn, I will have 8 Dawn. And how I'm going to play this upcoming turn is because I've only got 5 cards in my hand, 1 2K, 1 card that I know I'm about to, 2 of these I know I'm about to send to the trash for sure. For sure on my next turn. So ideally, realistically, I know that I've got 8K worth of counter in my hand, 1 blocker, and another blocker that's giving me another 1,000 counter for later on attacks and so on and so forth. So in my mind, I'm thinking I've got 1,000 counter, 2,000 counter, 4,000 counter, 5,000 counter in my hand. All right, that's how I see it. And I got 2 blockers. So my opponent has, like I said, well, they have 2 swings, 2 big swings. Let's say that they say, all right, I want to get rid of your Tony Chopper. So they get rid of my Tony Chopper, which is fine because I really just want to use him to block something immediately so that I can get this effect off. Really, you're just going to use the blocker, the chopper to block whatever comes your way first, or just use it strategically. Just use it strategically. You don't have to block whatever comes your way first, but you want to just make sure you're getting off the board so that you can use his effect. But Block strategically. If they try and go for your creature, you can block the creature. If they try and go for your life, you just go for life. You want to try and keep this on board because it's good pressure for your opponent, and especially if you're playing a 6K leader, having this in play really helps for keeping up the pressure without having to spend on. So keeping him alive is nice, and like I said, you'll have this effect, which you'll more than likely use this turn to just mill 2, sending the perfect 2 cards to the graveyard. And that's why this card is so great, because it can do things like, I needed a baby Reiju. I needed the baby Reiju in my trash, and I need to see a baby Reiju for my judge play coming up on my next turn. And this skill just helped me do that. So using this just to go ahead and mill 2 is always nice, just for trying to find pieces. But I would use that in combination with another pitch to go ahead and swing out of an AK swing, and my opponent swinging at me with AK swing. Then that would have been 8 right there. So I probably would have went ahead and used all my counter for that swing. And if they went for a 6, then I just use that for a swing. If I lose a life this turn, that's fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't unless they play a rusher, because they only had 2 swings, and you could counter out of both of those swings very easily. And now, look, you have a low hand size, but that's fine, because in your turn, you're going to have a really great crackback. So, again, you're now at the 8 Don turn. Didn't take much to get there. You're going to draw a card. That's probably going to be pretty useful, depending on the matchup which you're playing with. You can use this skill. You can use your stage right now, because the odds of you whiffing are very low in this deck. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind using stage, so I can go ahead. And because of the fact that I still have 2 cards I can pitch, I'm not really concerned about losing my judge ability. Will I lose this? Yeah, that does suck, but I still risk it for the biscuit. So, look, top 3. And the only thing that I traded out was for another blocker, which I'm just going to pitch anyway. So at this point, I would go ahead and go my 6 with lead, and then I go ahead and go my 5 to leader. Or actually, what I say before, we want to be able to get rid of that creature that they had played that's rested. So I'm going to go my tap 8 to go ahead and go into my judge and go minus. Well, no, I think I will just go to 6 to lead, or the 5 to leader, because all this won't be standing. So yeah, you just have to do that first, because these won't be standing for what you're about to do. So you'll tap 8 for judge, you're Don minus, you'll go ahead and pitch your 2. So that goes bye-bye, that goes bye-bye. And now you have 1, 2, 3 creatures in play. You want 1, 2, 3 creatures from your trash. So one of these has got to get replaced. Obviously it's going to be him. To get those 3, you have 1 card in hand. You Don minus, you draw 1 from leader skill. So you have 2 cards in hand. Unfortunately, no counter. And this is another reason why, saving counter is also fine, or saving your stage is also fine. But anyway, you now have 2 cards in hand. At this point, you would go for the pink Reiju. So you would Don minus again to go for pink Reiju. The reason why you're going for, purple Reiju. The reason why you're going for purple Reiju is because you have no card. You have 2 cards in hand, and you want to have defense, so you need more cards in hand. Blue Reiju will only get you 1+ card in hand. This is one of those instances where you need the 2, so you're not searching for anything. So you'll play this out to get the 1, 2, a perfect. At least you got 3K counter, so now you have at least this in counter power. My next move would then go to, if I wanted to defend myself heavily, like I said, if I wanted to get rid of the creature, or if I thought my opponent still had the hand size to save the creature, then I wouldn't try and get rid of the creature. I would just increase my defenses. But if I thought that I could get rid of the creature, then I'd get rid of the creature. But if I didn't think of that, I'd just go double up on my blockers, so that my next turn I've got better defense, especially since I have such a low hand size. So now I've got 2 blockers. I would generally like to save my Niji play in case my opponent plays a small blocker, a small chunk blocker, or anything that I would have an issue with getting off of the field. I save his level up until the next turn so that I can use him to bounce something. Because if you use it now, you have nothing to bounce. It's just a waste. But if you use it like the next turn when they try to defend themselves, then obviously you're just breaking through the defenses. And it makes it so that your opponent low-key has to focus this, or they have to deal with it. Especially if they know they're about to play something small to defend themselves. They have to do something against this, or else it's going to kick them in the butt. And like I said, right now, I have a great defense. I have an inherent 2 creatures who say minus or plus one of my characters by 2,000. And seeing as you can only go into my lead, that's pretty good, because now I have a 7,000 leader who can just counter out of a 6K swing with just these alone, and plus 2 defenses with 3 life. So I'm sitting pretty good right now. I'm sitting pretty good. I can do a lot. I got 4 cards in hand, AK counter. Like I said, these 2, I can go so far as to take 2 life if my came down to it and have another 2K and still have great defense for my upcoming turn, and then just use the rest of my turn to defend myself. They're just going mill, 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 mill. And like I said, if your opponent does play something defensive for their turn, then you would just go draw for your turn. You'd be at, what's our Don count right now? 2, 5. We're at 7 Don, and we just drew a chopper blocker. So we're good. We're just sitting pretty. You just sit there from the hand, look at the top. You don't whiff. You go ahead and add that to the hand. If you just want to get rid of a card that they got because you can, then you're just going to go ahead and say, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and double get rid of because I'm a black bug that 5 cost off the field. Then I'm going to go ahead and Don minus to move that other creature that you have off of the field. And I still have enough Don for a defensive play in my upcoming turn, and I still have enough Don to change out the counter in my hand. So you can just go 5 to life, 8 to life, another 5 to life, and then, you know, just be like, all right, I'm just going to actually just sit on this. Because then you can just go, all right, I'm going to trade out my stage for that. Or if you really need to get rid of that creature so that you don't die, you could have just used this to get rid of one of their creatures that they had so that they're one less swing. But then again, like I say, you just go use stage, pitch this, look at top, grab a counter. Really doesn't matter. You just want whatever counter. Like I say, it doesn't matter if you can survive the swings that are coming your direction this upcoming turn. You're just golden. But at that point, you would just go, I'm going to give myself 1 die was spent for the stage to rearrange so that you had counter in hand. 2 dimes spent to replace the Reiju for a chopper blocker, 3 blockers, 2 2Ks with 2 1Ks, and 1 life. If they got enough swings, I don't think they're going to be able to make it, okay? But that's the video. You guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. Bye.